Okay, so at the start of this banner, we see it's gone back to the first format, which we have three OSBs, or three 6-star abilities. In this case, they are all OSBs, and three bursts. Um, Starting out, we have Agrius's burst, or sorry, Agrius's OSB. Argius is one of the better characters in the game. I did, in my banner analysis of the quarter that we just ended, I talked about Agrius a little bit. Um, Someone asked a really good question of me because I was assessing the Orlando and Agrius banner that appeared in the last Final Fantasy Tactics event. They said, "What is the best paladin to you?" And I immediately came to my mind. I thought Agrius, and then I started thinking about it, and then I knocked her down a few places because what made Agrius so good back in the day was she's like Beatrix, except she has access to spell blades, which was really useful back then. But she falls off a little bit because Spellblade 4 isn't that great anymore. And she can't. I'm going to double check because I don't want to give bad information, but I don't believe that she can Record Sphere to Spellblade 5, which is the new tier of Spellblades. And Spellblade 1s aren't that useful, since they can only hit one attack. So Agrius does not gain the ability to get to Spellblade 5. So she loses that advantage that she had going for her. Now she is just a paladin. Knight 5 and White Magic 4. So can she be good enough with just those things and her soul breaks to break into, let's say, the top 3? And I think so. I think my top paladin would be Celas, especially after you see that Final Fantasy VI banner that's coming. And my second would be Ingus. Ingus, because his burst is unique in the fact that I don't believe there's any other knights that have paladin status. He can use White Magic 4. But also be a draw talliator. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't believe there's another draw talliating paladin. That gives him a lot of overall value to teams and the ability to slot into an A team, an A physical team, and be very, very, very valuable. And Ingus's burst is another unique one in the fact that it's a draw talliate burst, but it also gives him an element. It gives him an earth, and both of his burst commands are earth damage. So not only is it a draw talliate burst, but it's the highest damaging draw talliate burst at the same time. And with White Magic 4 potential, that makes his burst actually probably the best next to Celas is just gross and there's no touching that. But Ingus comes in second place to me. Captain Bosch of Dalmasca does not have White Magic 4. Nice try though, Shimra. Congrats, Vigar. Ingus's burst is very, very good, and Ingus is a very good character. Yeah, well, I am talking about 3 people that can use White Magic 4. I'm just saying that Ingus and Celas are better than Agrius. They can also use White Magic 4. Yeah, you may have to dive for it, but they're worth it. So Agrius, in a bit of a pivot from Celas and Ingus, now they do not have Holy Imperil. Agrius, and that's why I wanted to bring this up now. Agrius has Imperil Holy available to her. This is something that's unique that, Ingus is your draw talliate guy. Celas is the real Spellblader. And Agrius is now, instead of being the Spellblader, she is your Holy Knight. And she has an up on Celes because her sword relic that you can pull here is holy damage in all realms, not just realm synergy. The realm synergy is chance to stun, which does actually come in handy for the torment, by the way, because I believe you can stun the boss of the Final Fantasy Tactics tournament. But anyways, this is a 172 attack holy sword, which, hey, it's one more attack than Sid's. So this is a great stat stick that everyone should aim to get at least one of these, because it turns every knight in any realm in any Sid mission into a house. So that's already a good thing about this relic. And second, she gets a single target, holy non-elemental physical, and her conditional, a lot of these OSBs have conditional things to increase their damage, is if it hits weakness or imperil, that increases its damage output, which is good because Agrius has Imperil Holy. And normally you would be like, well, you need Agrius's Burst Soul Break because that's what inflicts the Imperil to match with this in order to be good. And with Japan's Banner 4, that did not appear on the same banner, but Agrius's Burst does appear on this banner. These two together make Agrius one of the best paladins in the game. I believe she moves into a tie with Ingus at this point. Ingus, just because they're like side grades to each other. Ingus is your Draw Taliator, while Agrius is a true Holy Knight, and Celes is just awesome everything. They are the right hand of the mother. The right and left hand of the mother. So this is already a great start to the banner. This is a highly desirable OSB when not many OSBs are that highly desirable. So next on the banner, this hurts me. It hurts me in my heart, my mind, and my soul. RS lightning damage would be really, really awesome if there was lightning damage in every realm. I mean, it's a sword. Come on. Throw me a bone. It's not like every mage can use this. I just dropped an ice cube on myself. So right away I'm saying, okay, not a great relic. It's got a whole lot of magic on it, but it's a limited usage weapon type. Lightning damage only in Final Fantasy 12. So this is not a great relic. And it is just a typical mage OSB. So nothing special going on here. Why would this weapon be desirable? We have two reasons for that. One, you have Ash's Burst Soul Break, which is good. Unfortunately, that does not occur on this banner. So you would need Ash's Burst Soul Break, since it doesn't have a certain occurrence after this point. You would already need it for it to be good for you now, for you here. And you do like the fact that Ash is one of the best mages in the game. She's a beef bus of a mage. She has a ton of health, great stats. She has access to Summoning 5, so she's a great AoE potential mage. She's one of the best mages in the game. So, but is that enough if you don't have her burst? I have to say no, unfortunately. But if you have her burst, me personally, everyone knows, I have 30 motes sunk into Ash. She's my most moted character. She does a whole ton of damage. She hits like a truck. And she's very capable. I have her burst. I have Garnet's lightning dagger from her burst, and I have that augmented, ready to go. I'm all in on my lightning mage, so this is a good OSB for me, but unfortunately you kind of need all of that for this to be a good relic for you. Moving on, we have a copy of just one attack less as a relic than for Agrius, even down to the realm synergy. Fortunately, It has one of the most useful OSB casts in the game because, like most OSBs, as I said earlier, the benefit to casting the OSB ends after cast. So you want it to be the last thing that you cast, because usually other things would be more beneficial because they help you after cast. With this, that is not the case. You can cast this whenever you damn well please, because it provides you with Thunder God mode. That's what the TGM is, and that thirds, not halves, it thirds all of your cast times. So it increases your cast speed by 300%, as well as being Holy Enlightening, Holy Sword. The long cast time is cool because Sid is a freak. He's a freak in nature, and he has Celerity 5, so you can use Power Chain with him and Power Chain out the Thunder God OSB, so you don't have to deal with the long cast times. Yeah, that's true. I guess I meant my most 4-star moded. So this OSB is definitely totally desirable, and I understand why people would want to go after it. You want to have Sid because he's like an Onion Knight character, where he's just OP, and he has a great soul break to go along with it. Problems with Sid. They understand how OP this is and how OP he is, and he does not get any further development. He is pretty much as good as going to be right now as he will be later. Just want to check on that for a second. We got Orlando. I mean, this is nuts. Like 3 6-star capabilities. That's pretty awesome. Yeah, it works both ways. You can either say plus 200% or 300% of current. It just all depends on how you want to do the math. He has great record spheres, but whatever. So does he get legend materia? Do they further develop this character? We got Ramza and Agrius. And that's another reason why we like Agrius' OSB, because Agrius does get further development with their legend spheres. So with Orlando, what you see is what you get. He does get a Super Soul Break in a future coming soon Final Fantasy Tactics event, but it's nothing like out of this world, and it's really I want to look at it just so I can confirm whether or not it would be useful if you had his OSB. Best sword in the kingdom. All enemies 5.04, already not so great, but we do have instant cast time, so that increases it to pretty decent damage potential. Holy Lightning, just like his OSB, and grants instant cast to the user. This stinks. Oh, unlikely to ever use this if I had his OSB. I would just be using abilities and Life Siphon. Just keep going. So, these good if you have a developed Ash. And moving on to the 3 BSBs. And why I think this banner may overall, from a completely neutral standpoint, be better than Banner 3 is because all 3 of these BSBs are very good. All 3 BSBs are very good. That OSB and that OSB are very, very good. And getting OSBs as a beginner character are very, very helpful because they're high damage stat sticks. And you have low synergy in realms, so you need these stat sticks. So let's go into what makes these bursts so good and why they're so beneficial to a beginning player. Yes, Mex. I've actually done it since I got Agrias' burst. I've gotten 3 Holy Imperial stacks just by herself. Because she has Sentinel, so she draws attacks to her and generates more naturally. and she uses her commands to hit vulnerability and generate even more. She's actually has a high potential to just completely like take full advantage of her Imperil ability. First of all, we have Agrius's Burst Soul Break, which I just went into detail. Like my personal use, I love this. I didn't think I'd like it as much as I do because I don't value Imperil as whole as being as beneficial as most N element statuses, like N holy like Cecil gets or something, or Minfilia. But I don't feel that way about Agrius and Beatrix's bursts because of that that Sentinel. It does not draw fire; it's Sentinels. So you also draw black magic to you. So you're doing 4 AoE physical, whatever, and Imperil Holy, and then you have some really good commands, allowing you to Sentinel yourself with the first. It's holy damage, and you allow yourself to give yourself a 40% resistance buff. So in case you're sentineling and it's a high like magic damage fight, then you can help yourself out with this, or you can just use this one. There's the same amount of damage each. And remember, Sentinel gives you plus 100% defense while it's at it. So her commands give her plus 100% defense and Sentinel, and plus 40% resistance. The sword itself is a plus holy damage sword, which has less use now that we have so many OSBs capable of doing the same thing, but it's still nice. So the value of this over other Imperil bursts is she can really abuse Imperil. Not only is her OSB based on it, it does more damage if the thing's imperiled, but she generates so much soul break by being sentineled and being able to do a ton of holy damage that stacking in Holy Imperil is actually a very real reality for her now. And that's what makes this kind of sneaky good, because it's much better than other Imperil bursts and soul breaks. Yeah, it's just a train. You keep it going. And remember, being in burst status, which she will be all the time because of all this, gives you plus 20% all stats too. That adds to her other defensive capabilities. She turns into a house. It's really, really nice. I underestimated this when I evaluated this on my last banner analysis. I saw it and I was like, oh, that's just an Imperil burst. It's not. It's a really good Imperil burst on one of the better Paladin Knights in the game. Next we have Aiko's Healer Burst. Being a Healer Burst automatically brings it into a high tier. How high of a tier? Well, let's take a look. H85 is a Curaga Medica, so if you were to cast a Curaga, that's how much healing it would do to your entire party. Also gives party critical 50%. Back when this first came out, it was much more useful. There are more ways to get critical 50% right now than there used to be, but it's still very valuable. They don't stack. None of them do. Because it sets your critical at 50%, it doesn't give you plus 50%. So just by casting a new one would just reset your critical rate at 50%. It's good. It's good. It's really great for a physical team. Personally, for me in the future, because I'm going to be pulling on Cloud's USB banner, the prospect of getting Kate Sith's plus critical 50% burst soul break reduces the value on Aiko's a little bit, but not everyone's going to either pull on that or going to like using Kate Sith, or we would even would rather have this on their healer burst. This is one of the best places to get it and will always be one of the best places to get it. So already we have a very capable entry, and in our commands we have the typical healer Medica, and we have Kiraja with just physical blink, which is pretty cool. So this is a pretty decent command. It's not that zero gas time that Realm has, but it's still nice. And Eiko is she has a neat ability pool in the fact that she is both a healer and a bard and a summoner. So she's got all that available to her. But again, both Kate Sith and Realm have the same capability. Eiko can only... Her advantage over them is that she can do Summon 5. And I don't know many people that will be using her burst and using Summon 5s at the same time. But thinking about it, I can think of the use. Just, hey, I'm going to throw a Valley Garmanda in there somewhere. Yes, I'm sure there are many people out there that would like Eiko Record Dive. As far as Eiko as a future developing character, we already have confirmation that Realm gets fully and totally, utterly developed. But what do we have going for Eiko? We don't. She does get a USB on the 5th banner of this festival, and it's pretty good. But I think the buck stops there as far as her development goes. And we already have evidence that DNA does not really care for this character because we've been waiting for her ability to record dive for a very long time. The fact that we got her burst last fall and still haven't got a record dive for her is unconscionable. Dirge, does crit boost from Eiko and Ramza stack? Yes, because they are different crit boosts. I'll show you that right now. I'll just skip ahead and evaluate that because these should be evaluated together anyway. Ramza, his Genji gloves gives Chant Party Stone Skin, which is the Ishtola status, not wall, but the 30% damage bubble, and high critical. This is different from Eiko's because this sets your rate at which you critical at 50%, while high critical makes you do 100% damage more instead of 50%. So like if I did right now just went into a match and did a critical with somebody, if they would have done 2,000 damage, a critical would make them do 3,000. But if they had the Ramza status on them, they would do 4,000 instead. So they're really great to combine with each other because you increase your critical rate to 50% when it's usually low in the single digits. And in addition to that, anytime you critical, you're doing 50% more damage than you would have done otherwise. So both of them together are a way to increase your physical damage output without having to respect the soft cap. So if you have a lot of damage buffs going in your party already, these two things together, and there's other sources for this, both of these. So don't think that you need to get them together, but having them together here on this banner is actually pretty cool. That's true, Cathius, but I do believe there is a relic on the Cloud USB banner that provides the same buff. I believe that is Zack's Chain Soul Break. Let's see if I've got it. I think I should have this available anyway. So we would search Cloud USSB Relic Draw. Awakening Cloud. Zack's Chain Soul Break. Yeah, he has high critical. And Wind Element Chain. So don't feel like you need to pull for Ramza's Chant to pair up with Cloud. Because he sets his critical at 100%. That's one of the reasons why this thing is so sick. Yeah, I run my stream browsers in incognito because I don't like to have cookies set and stuff like that just in case anything comes up. You know, just privacy thing for showing on stream. So don't feel like you need to pull for Ramza's Chant because you already have something to pair up with Cloud here. This is one of the reasons why this banner is so like highly regarded by me, and why I believe this and that Final Fantasy VI Cella's banner are the two Omega banners of the next cycle. Right, Cathius, yeah. Okay, moving on, we have Alphanos. We all know about Alphino. And one of the things I love about his burst, and why I believe it is one of the best in the game still, even though it does fall behind a couple of them as far as damage output is concerned, is because Alphino can do anything. As I talked up on the first banner, the Ether command allows you to do so much more. And while Kain can do a lot of things with his Ether command, Alphino can do it all. Alphino laughs at the concept of people calling themselves mages, because Alphino is the mage. He is most mage. He has access to White Magic 6, Black Magic 6, and Summoning 6. He does it all. This gives him full capability to exploit everything. And that's why it's nice to have him in all cases, just because of his high damage potential. I already talked about why Sid Reigns' first command is so good, in that it does a ton of damage because of the self-instant cast, but it also generates more soul break, so you can use his burst more. But the fact that he's got that going for him, and he has his Ether, so he's your always mage. And that plays into why I feel that focusing your resources into few characters, is good, because you have few resources to devote. You know that by devoting your resources to Alphino, he will be good in just about any situation. Along with the fact that both of these are summoning damage. And this is a very important thing to remember for the coming Nemesis fight and many fights in the future. In the past, future, always, in this entire game, summons do not elicit counters. So a boss like Nemesis, or any other boss that has counters, they do not counter summon damage. So this is great. It's great for so many reasons. One reason that it is not great, it's a book. It's practically useless as a stat stick. But that's okay. We can overlook that, because 99.9% of the rest of everything else about this is awesome. You pulled this, Lemonade? If so, congratulations. I'm in love with it. I'm so glad I pulled it on the Final Fantasy XIV banner. Here we have, moving on, because we've already established that with the third banner, we had a bad-ish top end for its OSBs, but with this banner, and why I think it's overall, for the neutral player, better than the third banner, is because we've got good OSBs. Even the lowest OSB on the banner is still good, because mage OSBs are better than physical OSBs. But both the physicals are awesome too. So we got a great 6-star section. We have a flawless burst section. All of these are very good. So how's our constellations look? We have Yuna's Super Soul Break at the first position. It's her newest Super Soul Break, so it's a Super 2, I believe. She may be her Super 3. They love giving Yuna things. I mean, she has 2 costume spheres. But it gives Curaga Medica and HP Stock 2000. This is one of the better Medicas in the game, because being able to full heal yourself and then giving yourself a turn after to breathe is very useful in a lot of Sid mission scenarios. Which is why I'm okay with my decision to skip on Banner 2, because I'm going to pull on Banner 3 and hopefully have Mithril left over to pull on this banner, because I originally wanted Yuna's BSB2 to help me out with the Final Fantasy X Sid mission in Torment, but this one will also work very well, because it's a very powerful Medica. So I'm pretty cool with this. I finally will be glad to potentially get something good for Yuna. I have Dragon Roar right now, and it's embarrassing. So moving on, we have Ramses Chant. This appeared on the second banner of the last Final Fantasy Tactics event. Party Stone Sand's pretty cool. I know a lot of people don't like it, and I agree with them. It has a detrimental quality to it. It's mitigated somewhat by having Ultra Cure in the game now, since we can Ultra Cure statuses off instead of like Sleep and Confuse, instead of having to hit them. Um, because Stone Skin removes your ability to do damage to people, so you can't hit them to get rid of Sleep and Confuse. So it kind of sucks. Um, but I know another reason a lot of people don't really care for this status is because when you're not taking damage, you're not gaining soul break gauge, so it is removing your ability to do damage. But I'm okay. I think the trade-off is 50-50, so I'm cool with it. Uh, the damage bubble. I mean, how can you argue with that? It stops damage being done to you. So yeah, you stop being able to generate soul break while the bubble is active, but you're stopping a bunch of damage on the way in. Um, and then there's the high critical. I've already talked about this. I would never use high critical, ever, if I didn't have a crit fixer, a 50% or the 100% on Cloud's USB. Uh, I think this would be the second worst on the banner because its use case is so limited. You need to have a crit fixer for this to be viable. It is nice that it's on Ramza, but Ramza's not what he used to be. We used to rely very heavily on stats, and he used to be really cool because he had access to Knight 4 and and support 5, and he had stats like a real knight. But he's not what he used to be. His capabilities are kind of in the pits because he's a support that doesn't have a support burst. He has a half-assed night burst. It stinks. But anyway, I want to move on. We have Alphino's Super Soul Break coming up next, and here is an interesting Super Soul Break. Already right off the bat, we see the attack magic plus 30%. That's great. That is Buska Faithka. We love that. We love that status. So that makes him useful on a whole variety of teams. And then we have the relatively rare status of Radiant Shield, which is a mirror. It's a damage mirror status that lasts 30 seconds. That any damage you take, as long as it doesn't kill you, also gets taken by the boss. And it is one of the primary primary like key relics for killing Nemesis. Yes, this is a Nemesis relic, and it's also very potent in like multiplayer where there's a lot of AOE damage on 8 people. Plus 17 magic, 17 mind. I'll say, because I do have this, that this is not a stat stick I use very often, so I'm not gonna expound on the benefits of that. You really are just using the fact that it is it's a Faithka, Buska Faithka with Radiant Shield on one of the best characters in the game. And I can guarantee, and anyone's seen my Torment farming runs, that having this on a character that has a burst as good as his Aerial Blast is awesome. Because I can start out a Torment boss with more than one Soul Break gauge ready to go, use his Faithka. It's like a sneaky Faithka, and then go into his burst. And it's like getting the benefit of 2 excellent Soul Breaks all at once. And it really reduces the difficulty of a ton of Torment fights, all Torment fights. And you get both of them on the same banner, on one of the best characters in the game. So, thumbs up. Thank you. Please come again. Last item on the banner is the worst item on the banner. We have Onion Knight's plus 10 magic staff. 5 non-elemental AoE attacks and Medica 40% max HP. Medica's cool and all, but you're never using Onion Knight for just this. Ever. It's plus 10 magic for Onion Knight, which is cool, I guess, if you have his Burst Soul Break, because his Burst Soul Break, the second command, the 4 times magic command with the instacasts added onto it, is it's the best of his commands. He works best as a mage. He's very useful to have to do support things when you need it, but he does the most damage output as a mage, and having that magic is pretty cool. Otherwise, yeah, that's a mage stat stick for Final Fantasy 3. That's pretty